So it's going to take 30, 45 seconds for everybody to fill in. Let me check the sound. Let's see here. Join. So it's going to take 30, 45 seconds for everybody. Hello, Janie Hodges. Star Price, fantastic. Loving his work. All right. Let's see. We're going to roll the show out formally in just a second. If these shows resonate with you, please share. We do appreciate all your love, support, contributions. I'm going to share it in the network real quick. Let's see here. We'll spread it around to our partners. All right. Hello, Jamie Lynn Straley, Donna Green, Jojo Blazajok from Australia, Laurel Gale, Bo James is in the house. How's it going, bro? Monica Peterson, good to see y'all. Thank y'all for coming in. Becky Farrell. Got 22 in the house. Divine God Lily is in the house. Oh, I think I just got, here we go. Okay. My signal's a little weak. If anything happens to me, I'll pop out and come back in. You just keep talking because you'll be doing most of the talking anyway. All right, so let me formally roll the show out. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Todd Medina. This is the Soulgy Network, and this is our primary vehicle, broadcast vehicle. It's called Soul Speaks 5D. It's a conversation with Daniel Scranton today. Welcome to the show, Daniel. Thank you for taking place with us. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So it's our pleasure. It's our honor. Hello, Sally Davis. Okay. Got 30 people. So, yeah, we're just going to have a conversation. And I was checking your stuff out. I mean, you're like, you know, I don't know how long you've been doing this, but, you know, just to kind of give a little synopsis of who Daniel is. Verbal channel, spiritual teacher, sound healer, channeling 12th dimensional non-physical collective known as the Creators since the fall of 2010. So that answers our question. That's what, 8 years ago. In that time that has elapsed since, a wide array of other guides and collectives, different divine essences, galactic and otherwise. He also works with light languages and galactic light codes. Maybe we can get him to, before we walk out the door tonight, do a little light language blessing for us. He works with people one-on-one, does group events, and teaches a variety of classes for beginners and also for advanced channeling. He lives in Maui with his lovely wife, Maurice Chris, and their 3 cats. Mary Chris. I mess up names all the time.
With us right now.
And also says he's got daily channelings, can be found all over the internet and also at danielscranton.com. So yeah, that's a heck of a resume there. So I guess you've been awake since what, a little bit before 2010?
Well, around 2000 is when I woke up.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Wow. How did that go down? Did you have some
it was funny how it went down because I wasn't a person who was looking for anything. I was atheist, but not one of those proud atheists that, you know, is really excited about the fact that there's no God. It was more like I just didn't see any reason to believe that there was. And then I had this job and my boss wanted us all to listen to Tony Robbins' Personal Power 2. And the very last interview that he did was with Deepak Chopra. So there were 13 interviews. The first 12, I don't even remember any of them. I don't remember who they were with. They didn't resonate with me at all, but Deepak Chopra did. And what was funny is I almost returned the Personal Power 2 CDs to my boss before I got to that 13th one. It was the only, you know, how when there's double, and you have a double CD like Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, or Pink Floyd's The Wall or something, and there's 2 in there. Well, this one had 3. So I didn't notice it had 3 until almost after I had returned them. And so I got that Deepak Chopra interview, and it hit me, and it spoke to me because I was, and I think I still am, a very logical person. And everything Deepak said was logical to me as someone who believed in and still believes in the human body. I believe the human body has the capacity to heal itself. I believe in natural substances, so I was eating all raw, vegan, and organic then, and I am now too. And things that Deepak said in that interview really spoke to my beliefs on the physical level. And then the more I explored Deepak, the more I noticed his teachings would use science to sort of prove, even though I don't know that that was his intention, it was more like this is what he was interested in. He was just a guy who liked quantum physics, and so he talked about quantum physics a lot. And so when I learned about how the universe really worked, it so went beyond my beliefs in Darwinism and Freud. I was always thinking in terms of evolution. It's one of the reasons why I believed in my diet so much, is because I thought, well, this is the way that humankind evolved. We just picked the fruit off the tree or the greens out of the ground and we ate them. And so why should we be doing other things to our food now? So anyway, the Deepak stuff really spoke to me. Todd's reconnecting, if you're wondering why it's just me. Todd's screen froze for a while there. I wasn't sure if he was just in a state of non-motion, but apparently he got disconnected. He's coming back and joining us. So yeah, I went down that whole Deepak Chopra-led rabbit hole. I started getting my hands on anything I could that he had wrote or that he had written. I speak good English. And I liked books on tape a lot then. So I would get the CDs or even the audio cassette tapes, because this was back in 2000 when those things still existed. And
can you hear me?
From Deepak, I went into other teachers as well, so I started getting into Wayne Dyer and Ram Dass and Yogananda and Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
And then at some point, somebody said to me, you got to read these Conversations with God books. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then somebody else said it. And then the third person who said it to me was the Reiki master that I studied under when I got my Reiki 1 attunement. And so I figured 3 times that was important. So I started reading those books, and they were like a drug to me. They resonated so much. Everything that he was doing with those conversations, which I didn't think of at the time as channeled, but now I realize that Neil was channeling.
Yeah.
And actually, a friend of mine who was my first real spiritual teacher said that to me. She said, oh, you like those books, so then you like channeled material, you'll like Emmanuel. And so Emmanuel is somebody that not that many people are aware of. The channel for Emmanuel has since passed on, but she wrote 3 books, Emmanuel's books they were called. So I read them, and on the back of one of them there was a blurb from somebody about the Seth material.
Yeah.
So that got me into Seth. I was heavily into Seth for a long time. And I was on these Seth message boards all the time where I was communicating with all these people. And one person in particular, her name is Kitty Coleman. It'd be funny if she was watching right now. She convinced me to check out Abraham. And that was around the end of 2004 when I started getting into Abraham. And then I started going to all the Abraham workshops I could, and then the cruises, and I was flying places to go see them. And that really led to my channeling, just being in that energy all the time, just going to these Abraham workshops. And initially I would go and I'd be like, I want to get called on, I want to get called on, I want to go up there and be, asking the most leading edge questions that I can think of. It was what it was. And then eventually realized that it would be so much better if I just was tuning into the energy of Abraham rather than trying to get up there and talk to them.
Right.
So that was part of what led to my channeling. Another thing that led to my channeling was I had an experience in the middle of the night where I was asleep, and in my dream I was it was just me and this other guy that I knew from all the Abraham workshops I was going to, and he was really into aliens, or let's say E.T.s.
Yeah.
He was really into E.T.s and I wasn't. And so I looked at him in this dream and I said, oh, I understand now about the other beings. And that was it. That was the whole dream. And I woke up from that dream and I was downloading energy from my head all the way down to my feet. And it was so ecstatic and orgasmic. I was practically levitating off the bed.
Wow.
I was just in shock and awe and just kept repeating, oh my God. And then I would say, more please, and one more time. And I just kept getting these massive downloads of energy. And eventually I thought, wonder what this has to do with that dream. And I thought, I wonder what this has to do with aliens. So that was the word I was thinking. And then I just got a huge wave of energy through me when I thought the word aliens.
Right.
So then I thought it over and over and over again, so I keep getting it. And then I started talking to them and asking them questions. And if the answer was yes, I would get a surge of energy move through me. And if it was no, I would get nothing. So that went on for I don't know how long. And then I thought maybe I can see them in the room if I open my eyes. So I opened my eyes. The next thing I know, I'm getting huge surges all over again. It's like the whole process is starting. I don't see them in the room, but just that feeling that they were there and knowing that they were there, I think, opened me up more. So it finally ended, and at that time, I had been meditating every day for 10 years. And I was the type of person that if I didn't meditate, I was miserable. I was a zombie. I couldn't function. So I had to meditate. But from that point on, instead of just meditating so that I could feel like a normal person who wasn't like inundated with ascension symptoms, I would meditate with the intention of feeling that energy again. So anyone who wants to channel, that's what I would say to them. That if you go into it with an intention that you want to feel high frequency energy moving through you, and you forget about the words and the information and the predictions and all that stuff, you just focus on how you want to feel. That's what I did. I didn't think, oh, I'm going to channel now. I just thought, I want to feel this. I want to feel this. But something had actually happened to me 3 months prior to that late night E.T. download upgrade. And that was that I was doing Reiki, and I felt something when I was doing Reiki that I'd never felt before. And that led me down this path of wanting to do Reiki like all the time. So I was doing it on people remotely. I was doing it on my massage therapist. Before she would massage me, I would be like, let me give you some Reiki. And so I was doing it for her, and my hands would start on her, and then they would lift up by themselves one at a time. I wasn't doing it consciously. I would just be watching my hands do this. And then that one would stop and this one would start. And then my head started going like this. And then my lips started moving, and I was whispering but not speaking anything intelligible. But it was just these whisperings like. So that's the first time that I thought, this is around February 2010. That's when I thought maybe I could channel. So obviously I was familiar with channeling. I got into Seth like in 2002 or 3. So it's been a long time since I had been into channel material. And so I would just sit and have that intention sometimes of letting something come through me. Or I'd have a friend sit and say, get some questions ready. And this is what would happen. And it was, I had no control over the top half of my body. And so I knew something was happening. And then also I would go into that deep meditative state of connection, and I would start to throw up. I'd get dry heaves like that. And nothing ever came up and out of me, thankfully, but it told me that something wanted to come through me.
Right.
So then I had that experience when I was at an Abraham workshop, when I was doing exactly what I was talking about earlier, where I was saying I started going there with the intention of just feeling something. I just wanted to experience energy. That's all I cared about. And I started having a dry heave in the middle of it, and I thought, oh, I better stop. And then my friends and I, we gathered together that night, and I told them to get some questions ready just in case. And I sat there and I did that same thing with my head getting jerked all over the place, but no words would come out. So then the next day, I got the chance to talk to Abraham about it. And they encouraged me to move forward with it, which is not what I was expecting. I was expecting them to say, oh, you're trying too hard. Because that's what I thought. I thought I must be trying too hard, else I wouldn't be dry heaving and I wouldn't have like these herky-jerky motions. They said, you just have some resistance that you've got to work through. They didn't say why, probably past life related, but Abraham doesn't really focus on past lives. So anyway, that was it. I started practicing after that with a girlfriend, and she would sit with me and just wait for me to do something. And it would be like I could feel energy in me for like 45 minutes to an hour, but I couldn't speak for it. And then eventually I started making sounds like parts of words, like puh, 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 over and over. And then eventually the beings that are now known as the creators came through for the first time, and they said, we are here for you. And that started this whole process of me channeling verbally. That's how it all happened.
Wow. Wow, that's a interesting story. So you've been watching this evolution we've been going through for 8 years from that perspective. I mean, that's a lot of stuff has gone on, and a lot has changed, and it's changing very rapidly. How do you see, what do you see that's happening right now? I mean, this year's just been off the charts, and especially the last few weeks. What do you think's going on right now? What's happening?
I think it's like you and I were talking about before we came on Facebook, and that's that people can't deny anymore what they're feeling. They can't hold it back. So there's no hiding from this energy. And unfortunately, when people now have awakening experiences, they don't have a framework for it. We're not taught about things of this nature in school, and people have ascension symptoms and they go running off to a doctor who doesn't know what to make of it and tells them they have chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia or something. And the fact is, I see more people that I work with that are having these incredible, amazing experiences of psychic phenomenon and E.T. visitation and clairvoyance and all sorts of things happening. More people are channeling today than I think percentage-wise or even probably numbers-wise ever have on the planet. And I think that's significant. I think we need it. I think we need all the people out there who are doing what they're doing to keep doing it, because it's the only way that we're ever going to spread from this real small minority of awakened people that we are to normalizing all these experiences to the point where when something happens to someone, they're not going to question their sanity.
Yeah.
They're not going to hide it from their peers and their parents and their friends and all that. They're going to say, wow, this cool thing happened. Just like I heard about this guy talk about this one time. Or, more and more people. I mean, it's too bad Oprah's not on the air anymore, because she would bring people on her show that would really get what we're talking about more into the mainstream. She'd have people on. I don't know if she ever had Eckhart Tolle on her show, but I'm sure she probably had Deepak on there and Wayne Dyer and people like that, so that the average everyday person could hear someone like Eckhart Tolle talk about his story, which is a very cool story too, and see the person that he is now. And all you got to do is watch that guy speak on video, or if you ever get a chance to be in person with him, and that this guy's the living embodiment of what he teaches, and it's incredible. And I think we need more exposure of that, and it's making its way. It's making its way into mainstream television and movies. People use the word woke now a lot, right? And it's a recent phenomenon where you'll hear people say, "I'm woke," and it will be. I heard it on Will and Grace. Marlon Wayans has a stand-up special that he calls Woke-ish. So there's a bunch of more mainstream people now talking about what it means to be awake. So it's moving in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, and I think and I know Deepak's been on Oprah because that's one of the first times I saw him or came across him, and I do think that some.
Uh-oh, you froze. Yeah, I remember. I'll just try to pick up the ball here and roll with it. Oprah had a panel on her show. I didn't watch Oprah religiously, but I remember when she had a bunch of people from The Secret on there.
No.
And I remember one person who, I'm talking about the episode Oprah had where she had a panel of people from The Secret, the DVD, on there. She had Michael Beckwith and a bunch of other teachers. They didn't give any mention to Esther Hicks on that show, which was really unfortunate. And I know it affected Esther emotionally not to be included in that and not to be mentioned, since the law of attraction is essentially the basis of all of Abraham's teachings. But they had all these other people on there talking about the law of attraction and the secret. And I remember this one audience member got up and she said, I don't hear any of you people talking about God. Like, where's God in all of this? And so she was, obviously a little offended, like that we could somehow be eliminating God from the process of creation. And it's funny that I was just thinking about this earlier today. I think the worst thing that humanity has ever done is to convince itself that God was outside of who we are, and that God was somehow separate from us.
Yeah.
And that's I think when I was asked one time, or somebody, I was talking about the difference between being religious and being spiritual. And what it comes down to me is religion puts God out there and spirituality puts God in here. And that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
That is a massive difference.
Yeah, and the reality is it all is God, But before I cut out, I was going to say, it is that part of it. Eckhart Tolle, Deepak, they're in the mainstream. I think the one thing they leave out of the mainstream. In fact, I had a guest a couple of days ago, Honey Borden, and she was talking about how she turns down some appearances on shows like this because they'll tell her, you can talk about this, you can talk about that, but you can't talk about the galactic, you can't talk about E.T.s, star family, and stuff like that. I think that's the big piece that needs to get into the mainstream. Now, you channel a lot of different essences and stuff, and really very galactic. You have a specific lineage or star family that speaks to you, or more than one?
I had an experience here on Maui where I went to my friend's house for what he calls Mystic Movie Night. And before we started watching the movie that he had, he took us through this exercise where he guided us to walk through a portal, and then wherever you went in the portal was where you needed to go. And I went right to the Pleiadian star system, and I was hovering above a planet or a moon in the Pleiadian system, and I started bawling immediately. I just started crying. I set foot on the soil, and the tears continued to stream out. I was met by Pleiadians who I'm sure I knew when I was incarnate there. And they came and greeted me and took me into a home, which may have been my home in a past life. I'm not really sure, but I've always connected well with people who channel Pleiadians: Nora Harold, Wendy Kennedy, Lisa Royal Holt, Rob Gauthier channels a Pleiadian. So and they're not just great channels; these are great people. And so I've always connected well with them, but I never thought about where I was from until that moment where I realized, I definitely have had either the most lifetimes in the Pleiadian system of anywhere, or in maybe my first lifetimes there. I don't see the distinction as being as important as some people do, because I feel like we're here to unite the galaxy. We're here to take our parts from all the different star systems that we carry inside of us now and unite them and integrate them And so at times I often think too that it really depends on what a person is working on in their lives. So if you're more spiritually focused, you're just like I was back in 2010, and you just want to go in a dark room somewhere for a couple hours and feel some energy moving through you, then you're probably connecting more with your Arcturian lifetimes. Whereas if you're in the position that I'm in now, where I'm doing more of teaching and channeling and guiding people, then you're probably connecting more with your Pleiadian side and your Pleiadian lifetimes. And if you're just really service oriented and you're like wanting to join the Peace Corps or help clean up the oceans or do something in Africa, you're probably connecting more with your Sirius lifetimes, because Sirius is all about service. So it really depends on where a person is in their development, I think, and what they're activating and integrating inside of themselves that comes from the stars out there and is meant to be grounded here. So everybody who wakes up eventually wants to go home. But I think that the point is to rise up from here on Earth, make this a fifth dimensional planet, create the type of experience that we've had in other parts of the galaxy, in other star systems, but to have it here on Earth in this traditionally very polarized place.
Right. Yeah, I love what you said too about uniting all the star families. So, do you have in your mind, do you have a specific mission? And if you do, was that something that was given to you, or something that you feel like you exercise with your free will?
Say again, a specific what?
Mission. Do you have do you feel like you have a specific mission here in this incarnation? And was that something that was given to you, or something you exercised by your free will here?
Well, I think all of us who are awake at this phase with this much time left to go before we shift, we definitely chose to wake up. My path, I started out as a Catholic, and I wasn't just a Catholic. I was a Catholic who believed everything that I was taught. And I believed that I was supposed to be good, and I was supposed to earn my way into heaven, and that I should follow these rules, and whatever was in the Bible was true. To go from that to being atheist, because I in college learned that all the stories in the Bible are all over the freaking world. They're not just part of Christianity, they're part of the Babylonian and the Sumerian and the Aztecian and all these different civilizations that we know about throughout history have these same stories. So then I thought, well, this can't be, they can't have the patent on truth if this stuff is everywhere. So I lost my religion in college and I became an atheist. And from there, without even looking for anything, my spirituality found me.
Yeah.
So that so doesn't seem like a logical series of events that had to have been planned.
Right.
And then to have the right teacher show up every step of the way, the right person to guide me on my journey. I mean, I know that I planned this to be what it is. And even the channeling thing, I mean, as into channeling as I never thought I was going to do it. I was hoping my ex-wife, who I was with at the time that I had the big download experience in the middle of the night, but then shortly after, she and I split up because we really weren't a match at that point. I started the channeling, but I thought she would be the one to be the channel, and I would be the one to ask all the questions.
Wow.
I never thought I was going to be a channel, and so the fact that I am channeling is remarkable, and it's definitely not something I chose. As an egoic person
Right.
who thinks about what he wants in life. And then the same thing happened with speaking light languages and channeling tones and overtones. I didn't know what a light language was before I started speaking it. And it came about when I was getting a massage, of all things. And and it was uncontrollable at a certain point. I couldn't do yoga without blurting out this light language. And then the tones that people probably think, oh, he's toning because he wants to channel, but the tones are channels. They're not something that I decided I would do to get into the channeling state, because I had already been channeling for like 2 years before I started toning. So it all sort of just happened to me.
Right.
And if I were to say, I think that as far as a mission goes, I think we're all living our mission right now as the sun comes in and it's like right on me. I think
Right
we're all
on cue.
the mission right now of just being who we are,
Yeah.
living our truth, speaking our truth. I think when people think in terms of mission, they usually think it's something I do, but I really think our mission now is something that we are. It's something that we're meant to exude from every core of our body, and that if that leads to us doing something, like for me, following my bliss
Right.
got me here to where I get to do what I do for a living and live on Maui. I mean,
It's not a bad mission.
it's really kind of cool because, yeah, I didn't think that I would be here, and here I am. So
Now you mentioned these tones. I don't know if I've ever been exposed to that. Can you? I mean, I don't want to ask you to go into a full blown.
okay.
But can you give like an example, just a quick
Yeah.
example of that?
But here's the very first set of, well, they've evolved, obviously. Everything evolves. But when I first started with the creators, before they channeled these tones through me, I was saying to my voice coach, I had a voice coach at the time, because the creators said sing and ring, or ringing and singing through me about 100,000 times before I actually listened. And I said, okay, I'll go get some voice lessons then, if that's what you want me to do. So I said to my voice coach I wanted to do overtones, and she said, I would love to teach you how to overtone, but I don't know how to do it myself. So how am I supposed to teach you? And so then that's when the creators started to come through me like this. Now I had already been channeling them for, like I said, for about 2 years, and I would channel all sorts of things leading up to them coming in and saying, we are here for you. But then once they came through I had already been speaking light language at this point for a while. They started to come through as a tone and overtone at the beginning. So I'll just give you one of the tones that they'll do in the beginning. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Very cool. I've never seen that before. It's the
There are
first.
some pretty cool videos of other people who do overtones, who blow me out of the water with what they can do. The sounds that can come out of a person's mouth, it's unbelievable.
Now, what is an overtone? I mean, is there a message in it, or is it just well, obviously it's non-verbal as far as the spoken word, but I mean, is it a healing? Is it a
Yes,
transmission, download, or?
it's healing, it's activating. My belief about it is that it recalibrates the person's energy, my energy, and the person I'm about to channel for, so that the channeling that I do is on the same wavelength as the person is who's receiving the channeling. So I believe it's about resetting us.
Okay.
But I also do sound healing. I create sound healings. My wife does the shamanic drumming, and I'll make the tones and sounds and like throat singing and chanting and things like that to go with it. And we just infuse the intention for the sound healing, because sound carries the intention that we have with it, and it never ends. It never stops. It just keeps going on and on forever.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. Now, and you do these one-on-one sessions now. Is this a typical session where if you're going to sit down, you're channeling for somebody, you calibrate with the tone, and then you channel for them specifically, like questions or just whatever comes in?
Questions are better because questions help to pull the energy through me.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone doesn't ask a question, they still get a channel message, but it's better if it's specific what they're after, because when someone just sits there and wants to receive a channeling, then I'm receiving every imaginable bit of information about that person. And so it's better for it to be directed towards something in particular. So the more specific the person is, like when I have clients who come to a session and they've got their list of questions, those are usually the sessions that go really well. And of course, it does depend on the nature of the question too. So when I am channeling for someone and their question is, when is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? They're assuming that their life story is already written. And I think that once we pass December 21st, 2012, then we were handed the blueprints for our lives. We were given much more of free will than we ever had prior to that time. That we are fourth dimensional now, which means we get to play in the fifth dimension and experiment. And so it's always better when somebody wants to know how to improve their life or how to make more contact or channel or meet their soulmate or something like that, rather than just saying,
channel for me.
Am I going to meet my soulmate? When is it going to happen? Because that's like assuming that something is set in stone instead of seeing yourself as the creator that you are.
Right.
Where it's really entirely up to us. Now I would say one guarantee is that if you stay in your physical body, you're going to ascend. The only way to not ascend is if you decide to leave. And go reincarnate somewhere else. Or maybe some people, I think, are leaving now and they're going to reincarnate and they'll be like 5 years old when they ascend or something. But
No,
that is something I think that's set in stone, is the ascension of the human consciousness.
yeah. And do you do you see that, people talk about, and I ask other people about this, get different answers, but do you see there actually being like a line in the sand where everything flips and we move into collectively, into the higher dimension, as opposed to this gradual,
It is
continuous?
gradual.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's both. I think
Yeah.
it's gradual, and there will be a gigantic. So the way that my guides, the Arcturian Council, talk about it, they're like, okay, you're going to have these minor events. We just had some. We just had some eclipses. We had a solstice. We had some eclipses. We had Lionsgate. And people, I think, are picking up on the fact that something is happening with when those dates are coming. And then those people are assuming that what they're picking up on is the event, what's been termed as the event, which is this gigantic cosmic wave of energy that includes a solar sneeze or a solar event, they're calling it, that would transform everyone upon impact and create the shift in consciousness that we've all been hearing about for God only knows. Some people probably been hearing about the shift for way too long and are like, when did we get here already? So I do think that that's going to happen, but I also think that these smaller events are meant to get us to open ourselves up and receive more so that our bodies can get ready for a major event, which I think is about 9.5 years away.
9.5 years.
Right now, on this timeline.
Yeah. Right. Now, in terms of your spiritual evolution, that you've been describing for us, was there a direct relation between that and what people call shadow work or inner work within yourself?
Oh, I was suicidal the day before I had that big download with the E.T.s. I was literally contemplating suicide. So I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been through a lot of self-loathing. Mostly,
Yeah.
it's mostly directed inward. My stuff. I don't get angry very easily. I don't lash out at other people uh, or even the secret society type people. The syndicates, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. I don't get really upset at them. It's all basically been a very internal struggle for me of loving myself and getting over the the perfectionist side of
Yeah.
myself. I think as part of my genetic line to have that, and yeah, I mean, I've been through so much crap to get to where I am, and I see it all as having helped me. Because if I didn't have that reason to go within, in other words, if life out there was going really well, then I probably wouldn't have wanted to go within as much as I did, and
Right.
and have a different experience of life than the one that I was having.
Yeah. Now you're in a partnership, and of course there's a lot of talk about, over talk about twin flame and that type of thing. But so whatever you call it, do you see that there is a prominent role of these divine partnerships that they play in this ascension?
It seems to be the case for me. I would say that, but I don't believe in just one. So I've been married 3 times. So my my wife and I joke about that, about how third time's a charm, because the relationship that I've been in with her now for over 2 years has been so, and I'm 45 now, so it took me 43 and a half years to meet uh, the woman that would ultimately be that best relationship that I've ever been. I mean, I went for years and years and years of my life with no relationships. And again, that kept me going within. Like, what else was I going to do? I didn't have anyone around.
Yeah.
So I believe that they play a role. Like I said, when I first started channeling, I was newly in love. I had just broken off that first marriage and met someone on an Abraham cruise like 2 weeks later. It was incredible how it happened, and you know, having all of that love flowing through me because I had been in a marriage that I didn't want to be in for years, and that helped, I think, bring about the channeling. And now I'm in this place with my wife where we're so happy and we're so supportive of each other that we're definitely helping each other to grow. And and we're not perfect. We each have our stuff that comes up, and the other one is there to help soothe and listen and help process. So I do think it's a part of the journey, but I don't believe in the concept of a soul splitting in half and needing to find its other half. Some people think that that's what you're supposed to be doing and that that's what your twin flame is. I think my twin flame was my second wife, who was really hard to be with, who like shone a mirror on me that said, these are all the things that you hate about yourself. And I'm going to remind you of them almost every day.
that resonates with me, and don't feel bad. You're 45. I'm 56. It took me 56 years to find the third one. Now, but in terms of the freak, well, I mean, I don't know how I want to put that, but I mean, obviously the energy that you two combine, just as your personal stuff affects the collective, it affects the collective. And I don't want to get caught up on those terms too much. So maybe we shift gears to the, I guess I would say, the embodiment of the divine masculine and divine feminine. Do you see that as a significant aspect of this transition we call the ascension?
I think the important thing for people to realize is that we each have both inside of us. So sure, another person can help bring out more of your divine feminine or more of your divine masculine. And that person may embody some of what you've never felt you've had access to within yourself. But ultimately, we're here to be whole as individuals. And as two whole individuals who feel totally integrated in their divine feminine and divine masculine come together, then you get something really powerful. But yeah, at times, the other person that we're in partnership with, whether they're in a male or female body, can be embodying something of the masculine or feminine that we need. We need to see it, or we need to experience it. I mean, I think we all can admit to ourselves that when we're around different people, we are different. There's a wonderful Woody Allen movie called Zelig, where every person that Woody Allen's character encounters in the movie, he literally becomes like. And so he starts his whole face changes, and even his gender, I think, in one case changed, and he morphs into whoever he's with. And I think that that's something that we that had a universal truth in it about who we are, is that we tend to change based on who we're with. And then ultimately, hopefully, we get to this point where we realize, oh, I just want to be me no matter whom I'm with. And so all these experiences where being around other people can help us to access something within ourselves, that's good, but ultimately we want to be who we want to be, period. And that would be that fully integrated divine masculine and feminine person.
Yeah. And what would you say to anyone that wants to channel? Is it imperative to channel?
No.
Is everybody different?
I would say you're already channeling. It's just a question of what you're channeling. So you can channel your ego, you can channel your higher self, you can channel your oversoul, you can channel source, you can channel your past life self, you can channel your inner child, you can channel thought forms, you can channel higher dimensional information, higher dimensional beings, E.T.s, angels, ascended masters, fairies, the earth, the animal collective, the trees, the wind, whatever you want to channel. But most of us aren't doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
Most of us are channeling and not realizing it. One thing I was thinking about earlier today, I think I was thinking about this conversation a little bit earlier today, and I was thinking about how when we were younger, when we were kids, we so wanted to fit in. We so wanted to be like everybody else. And then as adults, at some point, we realized that we're not like everybody else, and we don't want to be like anybody else anymore. And so there's a time when we detach from that programming that we're supposed to be a certain way. And when you detach from that programming, then you choose who you want to be. You choose which aspect of source that you want to channel. And then what a channel does is a channel just says, I want to be the part of myself that is in this high frequency, high dimensional group right now. And I know how to get there because I've tuned myself to enough different beings. So that's why it's good to be an empath. That's why being an empath, sometimes we feel like it sucks and we don't want to feel everybody else's stuff, and it's just hard to even be in this world. But it's training too. It helps us to be more than just a singular being that has a body and thinks of itself by its social security number and name and birth date. You know, we have so much access to so much more. And I do think that if a person wants to open themselves up to something more, because I've seen it so many times. I've seen people that I've had in my channeling classes go on to channel amazing material. And I think, yeah, it's anyone can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when you channel like the Arcturian, the creators, these councils, do you feel that those are all aspects of you? And I know ultimately everything goes back to the one, but I mean, do you feel those are all aspects of you?
I would say in that ultimate sense, yeah. It's a holographic universe, so there's no escaping it. So if you think in those terms, it's actually easier to channel than if you think, The ninth dimensional Arcturian Council are way up there, and not only are they up there, but they're up there dimensionally. And so for me to connect to them, I've got to have a pretty damn good Wi-Fi signal or something. You know, it's not about that. It's something that, I mean, if you think about a non-physical collective. So I think it's different when you're channeling a physical being. I think when Daryl Anka is channeling Bashar, according to Bashar, there's a certain amount of technology involved in that. So there is technology that Bashar uses to be able to reach Daryl's consciousness. But with a non-physical collective or a non-physical, a lot of us think of archangels and ascended masters as individuals, but they're really more collectives than individuals. Anytime you're non-physical, you are more of a collective. So when we want to channel these beings, think in terms of dimensionally speaking, the ninth dimension is here, the 12th dimension is here, all the dimensions are here. We're just not vibrating high enough to experience them. So we're meant to have a physical experience. That's why we're vibrating where we are, so that we can have a physical experience. But if we want to connect with a higher dimensional group, they're not somewhere far away. They're right here, occupying the same space, quote unquote, but they're non-physical. So they're consciousness that's everywhere that we tap into. And so I think it's easier than we sometimes think of it, because if you think about, well, why would Archangel Michael be paying attention to me? Archangel Michael's so popular, everybody wants a piece of Archangel Michael. Well, you're thinking of Michael as a person.
Right.
You're thinking like Oprah is. You know, Oprah is a person, and there's millions of people that want a piece of Oprah. So of course Oprah can't be there for everyone that wants a piece of her. It's just not possible.
Right.
But it is possible for these non-physical people.
Yeah. And if I'm understanding you, you're saying that it's easier to channel with the non-physical if you are, I guess what I'm saying is connecting as they are an aspect of you, as opposed to something external, because then we're right back where religion started, and God and out there, and we're over here, you know.
Yeah, I will say that it wasn't necessary for me to think of them in that way to start channeling them. It's just when I teach other people to channel, I remind them of that.
Yeah.
In case that's part of their belief system as to why channeling is hard, which it really isn't. It's really, when I say everybody's channeling, I mean, if you've ever danced and not been self-conscious and not been following a set number of steps or moves that somebody else taught you, but you just let your body move to the music because the music was moving you, then you've channeled.
Yeah.
So there are times when we channel, and writing things too. That was another. Dancing and writing were two of my first experiences with channeling that I never thought of as channeling because I was totally asleep at the time. But I used to write a lot, and it came really easy to me for some reason.
Yeah.
So it's something that we tap into that necessarily call channeling, because you don't make a bunch of sounds and speak in a funny voice and call yourself Archangel Michael, but there are times when everybody taps into something.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And actually, I was listening to a Kid Cudi, a couple of Kid Cudi cuts the other day, but he wasn't rapping, he was humming. He was humming, and it was, yeah, you can see it on YouTube. I just saw it a couple of days ago, and I thought, what is this? That Kid Cudi's humming for 4.5 minutes to this beat, and it was straight channeling. And I know when I woke up 7 years ago, I spent most every night dancing. I'd never danced before, and it was exactly what you described, and I've never even thought about that. But I was in my own world, and it was connecting me to the soul that's the bridge, and it did engage at that time, which I did see as separate, spirit guides and different things like that. But yeah, that's a powerful piece of information, because and along with what you said earlier too, that we're channeling all the time. There's all kinds of things that we can channel. I
Right.
know there's a lot of people like myself that have a relationship with trees, and how do you like you said, it doesn't always have to be verbalized or sounds coming out. It's that non-physical frequency. Very
Yeah,
good.
the trees are all connected. They all communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And they're like the antennae of the planet. They're like the natural antennae that we have. So they're always connected and they're always downloading. They're amazing. I love
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Big time. Anything outside. It's that's the laboratory right there. So when you do light language, do you go into it with specific intent, or is it healing? Are there messages, that type of thing?
If there are messages, I don't interpret them into English.
Right.
So some people say they can translate a light language, and I'm sure they can if they say they can. I'm not meaning to imply that they're just saying it, but I've never met anyone who's done it, who's been able to say this is what this means, because I think that a light language ideally goes beyond our mental capacity to understand, and it speaks to us on a level that is meant to activate. So I do think that light languages are healing. I do sometimes intend for a light language to have a particular impact. Um, it's the easiest channeling that I do. Light language could not come through me more easily. Um, so I love it. I love that it doesn't have to make sense to my logical mind. So it rises above my judgment of my work that I sometimes do, because it's hard to judge something that when you don't really understand it. So
Well, it's almost like I love what you were saying, because it's almost like we've got five senses, and whether say we're doing a song or a rap or something or whatever it may be, and we pick it up with those senses. What you're saying is the light language is at a higher level, and then
yeah,
just in terms of an analogy, I mean it's coming in at a frequency where we have more than five senses maybe, and we're getting it a lot like what you described when you got your first channeling. You were getting all that energy in, but it didn't sound like you were getting any specific details. You were getting it in, and
yeah,
yeah, you were getting the download. So I
yeah.
mean, I've got a couple of people have asked, and I've got to ask. But before we go out the door, would you mind doing some light language for us?
Yeah, let's. Do you want to have like a time limit? Because once I start,
Yeah,
it's hard.
no, I'm cool. I'm cool. Let me
All right,
unlock my door, because I got a friend coming over.
all right,
All
all
right.
right. So I'll set a timer just so that it doesn't go on forever. I'll set a timer for 3 minutes of light language.
It's up to you. If you want to go 10 minutes, that's fine with me. I don't care.
That means it's a long time.
Well, all right.
How about that?
Yeah, that's fine. That's cool.
And,
Three, yeah, whatever.
what's your what? It's your show, so do you want to set the intention for what the light language does?
Well, let's do greater alignment, attunement, awareness, expansion.
Good. Ita naman to tikanda say bon to din itisramolo kata puput hinot po ito na natikanda na po tosran tikandra ko tikananta po trukot titampo itresin ko lamata po sirikitiko iamana ko tikanamam tuko na nakatiki o tramitai aturoko serangkai tromete kaya buko tisreka potikani pitu tukan tula menekai noroko topo mine keresino katalama toko pa pitu toman ki tikotoni tikotobe tikarikata itatako tikainu toto zitiki nikatikole katiki telepo tikayanoto Pitikano no kotere kaya katu suti kane kota na matuko itolo kita nambo patikiti kitu pitikati kitu no kote senakati kitu pitalana na boto kotere kitiki poko te katangere kito po tarakan kiti poko atakani ni koto toko pitirangan di kitiki kito pati kito nuku pa pikete sito pikitu Perché tutte catati tu menicatico tutto coticane di che tutto si catico non ampai ai tutti cani no cut itala catico po itala catico si che tico o tico o Pitikitiki nikitutuko tatiko pai atikai atiko tutubti patatako sutika nanakato tikitiko tombe tiko itakana nakatikatuko tumu dikitiko itakitiko mitikutikitiki nikitiko itiko taba tikataka kutuko ilanganda kisikutuko nikita impa Impa, unta, unakataka kutu sitikatu kumi nakataka no sukotikari kitipo. Ide karama pada posa tamana kuru kumbo. Bide kiring kutran tu tiketing natatandulo. Timintikam na kuto tikatikatinti. Takanino gutu to sitakitindu. Patikita tikatukutombo lika. Kita gut tikatu like tikatu tikan ko tikan negatif to mentai no kota indiko tikani ko tikiko on tika ko endika ndoko endika por koneni kayete tikati ko pompi por kan samon to ko to tikase tikono Kere kumi tiko toko po. Pitiki riko riko o a anta. Kere ko no tiko o a tika toko o tika laka nika tu sete kanda tikiti tu boom. Tika nete kare konin siriko o. Andala kaya and the coding the tool like a chido mundo to. Katulong moto to nikitikotunukotuka trakesi kana bo pedikini to the mundo tikitiko on the kayan do the tikitiko on the tikitiko but the kajis peter ko to pedikadi tikatikato itakana tikitiko to ta itakatiko no tikitiko bo digidiko Ketika sekian koto, ketika gendiketeko, etiko, itiko, takatuniko, itisi, itisi, pulukuri siriko, itiku, tiki tiki, tiki tiki, tiki tiki tiki, tiki nanaka, munukuri tiki tiki tu, tiki mu, tiki nu, tiki ningo, tiki tiki tiki, tiki tiki, 이렇게 니도 그득한데 그즈도 니도고 그러니까 니가딱고도 내가 나나 가도 단 먹고 또 로고 때게 이도 뭐뭐 놓고 또 그때 시트 가는 디 어떻게 그것도 뭔데 그때 또 뭔도 그때 그리고 그리고 뭐 그리고 또 또 이렇게 듣고
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
yeah.
That was fascinating. That was really, really cool. I've only heard someone do something like that one time, close to that. That was very unique. And would you say that
I
that
never quite that language before.
no, I mean I've heard something close. It wasn't that close, but I was going to ask you, do you feel that that's a specific to say a Pleiadian lineage or something like that, or is that your own specific light language?
Yeah, I channel so many light language. They're all different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can intend to channel an Arcturian or a Pleiadian or Syrian light language, but for the most part, I like to just let whatever is going to come through instead of thinking along those lines of
cool.
Yeah, control it in some way.
Well, Daniel, I'm really grateful that you came on. Like I said, I didn't really know, didn't know who you were until Morgan mentioned you to me a few days ago, and I've heard a lot of good things about you, and love to have you back sometime.
Sure.
Very, very unique, and I just want to say on behalf of everybody, thank you for the work you're doing on behalf of humanity, and just wish you and your partner and your cats the best always, and maybe we'll go over to Hawaii one day and do something live together.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, you take care. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. If there's anything we can do for you at the Celogy platform, if you need to get it, if you want to get any information out or you got any kind of event or anything or courses or anything, we've got a pretty good network. And you're welcome to that. Just hit me up and I'll be glad to help you any way I can.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd.
All right. You take care. Peace out, brother.
Peace.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see y'all tomorrow.